Hey, everybody. It's been a while. I feel like Samir, I've been off of Facebook for like 3 weeks nearly with a bunch of travel and not having some interviews to do in recent days. So, hello, Samir. Nice to have you.
Hi.
Nice to see you, and nice to be back on the internet, everybody.
Yes, yes.
If you already know Samir, friends, you know that he does a whole lot of good things in the world. He and I partner on a couple of things, including Common Good Christians effort. But in addition to that, Samir is putting together a series of retreats, both on the West Coast and on the East Coast. And we've been trying to tell you about those and would like for you to uh, participate in them. So come join Samir in New York City or in, I got it wrong last time. I think I said Malibu,
Right, right. Santa Monica,
Santa
LA,
Monica.
basically. It's a city thing.
It's a city
Yeah.
thing. Uh,
Yeah.
all right. So, Samir, tell us. We talked a couple weeks ago about this retreat. Say a little bit about what someone experiences when they go on one of these life. Um, I don't know, what do you call them? Life investigating retreats or life changing, life altering, life engaging
Mhm,
retreats.
mhm, mhm.
What do they experience?
Yeah, people usually have like a sense of a retreat, like, oh, I need to rest and kind of get away from all the crazy things. And you often don't see retreat as a hard work. And
Yeah.
but retreats have been a way people have been engaging with as a communities together, as individuals growing and going through rites of passage throughout the history. And the dynamic of it is that you retreat from your usual ways of being, from your habitual ways of solving problems, seeing things, formulating, explaining, and you kind of grow tired of your story, and you sort of find a place where you can think in new thoughts, have new
Mm.
feelings, and experiment with ever being a different person. And then you are witnessed by other people. So that dynamic is so powerful, not just for the person being witnessed, but you as a witness. When you're witnessing other person actually crossing a threshold and
Mm.
sky is not falling, and they're realizing I can be like this. Uh,
Huh.
so so that's why they're powerful. You can't do this through lunches, reading, no matter how much reading you do or explaining you do. It is actually embodied experience that
Mm.
is goes from moment to moment.
Mm.
It's not teaching, it's not workshop, it's not talking at people. It is very much like following what's happening right now, uh, and doing that as a whole person. So once that happens, a lot of things you harvest a lot of change you have accumulated already through your
Mm.
experience.
Now, I'm someone who's never been on one of these kinds of an effort. I've never been on a retreat like this. I've never engaged in any kind of I don't know, whatever these are called, one of these life changing weeks or weekends retreats. I
Mhm.
hear about them all the time. So, but there's something that in me, and maybe this isn't true for everyone, that can feel a little startling almost, right? Like
Mhm.
I work, I feel like I work pretty hard to just sort of keep my life going as it is, and I can only manage so much level of disruption. That what
Mhm.
if I formed a whole set of patterns or a whole way of being, um, and I've just gotten that to kind of barely work, and then I go
Mhm.
on one of these things and I set aside my old ways of doing things or my old ways of acting, and everything comes crumbling down like that. That's this internal fear I have about
Yeah.
high levels of
Well,
change like this.
that view of the retreats that most people have in their minds have been a part of our American culture in the 80s and 90s. They were called Lab 1 and Lab 2.
Mm-hmm.
They were based a lot on disruption. Uh, Basically, you push people out of their comfort zone, and in their discomfort, they are kind of experiencing new things and rearranging everything and questioning everything.
Right.
And in that way, discomfort is sort of hoisted on people.
Mm.
It's actually done to you. Uh, I I do not subscribe to that. I think those times are
Oh.
over. what we do is way more gentle, and it's way.
Huh.
It's actually the growth comes when you stop trying so hard.
Huh.
It is what who we are. Our future self is already becoming, and everything you need is already in you.
Hmm.
And every step you make it deliberately, and you make it from your intuition, from your place of wholeness.
Hmm.
It's much more like yoga and much less like gymnastics.
Oh, that's an interesting metaphor. Um,
Yeah,
talk a little bit about that. What does that mean? More like yoga,
like
less like gymnastics.
in yoga, you are basically have tremendous respect for whatever is, and you accept that.
Hmm.
You come from radical self-acceptance, and you are safe.
Hmm.
And then you experiment and you explore, and you have your own path, and you are not comparing yourself with other people. You're not even comparing yourself with some idealized future self.
Hmm.
You start at the X spot where you are. And if you don't start from there, you can't go anywhere. That's like that's very important, that there's no goals
Hmm.
that you sort of push on yourself. Second thing is there is no postponing of change. So if you say, for example, I want to be more direct, it's not going to be like, well, let's really make a powerful experience for you so you will be more direct. It's not like that. It's more like, how does direct feel to you and how you experience it? Well, I experience it
Hmm.
uh, this way or that way, and then we on the spot practice with you doing that, right there.
I see. I see.
So so there is no homework. There is no like plans, like a 3 steps, and you're leaving with like all these pieces in your hands that do not how to integrate.
Huh.
You are integrating it right there.
Oh,
So
it's
when you're leaving, you have a memory in your body and
hmm.
memory in your experience of the way you want to be, right?
Hmm.
That's different than leaving with how many times I have left with folders and folders from
Yeah.
these
Right.
conferences
Totally.
about what I
Totally.
need to implement, right? So, and you leave with already making several pivots at the retreat around things that you want to change from your old story to new story. So you're practicing
Hmm.
small pivots. Entrepreneurship, they say like a minimum viable product. We say minimum viable intervention. Like, because often the bigger the change you need, the smaller step you need to make. It's like swimming. I was in a swimming, and I was, splurging, and I paid a trainer and who
Oh,
helped me like position my hand better.
yeah.
And I gained like 3 minutes. I shaved off 3 minutes in a half an hour swim or 45-minute swim.
Really?
I mean, if I doubled my training, I would not be able to shave off 3 minutes. But there's a small move that actually creates draft, that creates things that,
Hmm.
and those are usually in personal life, those are like internal habits that you do. So, and they come to the surface and they're obvious to you, they're obvious to everybody. And you say, hey, I'm gonna pivot around this.
And that's something that can happen in a retreat setting where there's multiple people. Like it's not in a private coaching session. This happens sort of live and in real time in front of and engaging with other people.
Right. Yeah, but it's a small group. It's like 8 people
Uh-huh.
or 10 people.
Yeah.
Once you get to 15, it becomes like you cannot, like, it's very hard to facilitate that.
Hmm.
Uh, but other people are critically important because when we make ourselves visible and we are validated
Mm-hmm.
instead of violated,
Hmm.
that what you make visible becomes now part of your identity
Ah,
because it has been validated.
yeah.
And you cannot install that, you cannot turn from your thinking to making what you want part of your identity on your own. It just doesn't happen. We are human beings. It happens, but you happen by being witnessed.
Oh, I see. So the role of the other people there is it's almost a generic role in a sense, huh? That anyone could be that witness. It's the fact that there's other people there. It's not dependent on having the right group of people that are at this retreat with you. It's just the fact
Yeah.
that there are other people.
Yeah.
Huh.
You grow together with the people. You get to know them, and they know what you're saying, and they know what you're feeling, and they are the guardians of your path as well. So sometimes I would ask a person who says, well, here's what I want to do, here's what I want to leave behind, and here's what I'm stepping into, and here's going to symbolize that when I cross over, right?
Mhm.
And then you turn to other people and say, do you believe this person? Do you believe John, what he's saying?
Huh.
And it's unbelievable. People just are quiet. They sit. And John looks at that and says, well, I don't believe myself either. You know?
Right.
And then, so John, tell us what, then you ask more questions, because every threshold requires some sort of confrontation with something.
Hmm.
And then John goes on and says, well, here's what I'm thinking, here's what I'm feeling, here's what's in my stomach, here's what I feel in my body right now. And then he taps into the real thing.
Huh.
And you see in everybody who's there, you see change in their demeanor. And sometimes I invite him and say, hey, when I would put your hand on a person as this person crosses threshold from this story to the new story.
Hmm.
And, there's a lot of, tears, and there's a lot of laughter happens through
Hmm.
this process, but it's gentle, and it's hard work.
Yeah.
It's not comfortable. It's not comfortable, but safety does not equal comfort.
I see. Does a person have to know what story they want to leave and what story they want to enter? Is that a requirement, a prerequisite for this to be a
Well,
useful retreat?
people who come usually don't know that. We don't know why we are really coming.
Hmm.
A lot of us are confused. We think we're coming for one thing, but it takes a half a day to really ask the question why you're here.
Hmm.
For people to really come clean to themselves.
Hmm.
Like, okay, say it. Sometimes it's obvious to everybody except the person who needs to say, here's why I'm here. And if you would know why you're coming exactly, you would not need to come. It is the clarity about where it is coming to touch with where you are right now, and what is the step you are making. So people have symptoms, or they have something, they're tired, they feel like they have tried something many times, like entrepreneurs come, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Entrepreneurs, people who are kind of left a job and now they want to have their own career. Like, that's a major turning point in which you need to learn so many skills.
Right.
These skills are not something you can go and pay $1,000 and go through a course and do, like, all things about marketing, and those are all nuts and bolts.
Mm-hmm.
But until you change, nothing changes, right? And you have it already in you, and that process of becoming visible and facing the habits you have, facing the ways you withdraw when you're afraid at certain points, and you find yourself on square one many, many times. Like, I tried to be on my own for like 3 or 4 years. You're just kind of dead. You're just spinning the wheels until there is a small shift, and you realize, I need to face this in myself. And pretty quickly you see the first fruits of that.
So Samir, it's fascinating. You sent me a graphic that we're going to talk about today that I think is really interesting. Can I pull that up and have you
Yeah, sure.
describe it to people what this is all about? All right.
Oh yeah, I can see it.
So there it is. So even though it's this like individualized process, obviously that everyone's going through their own thing, there's apparently a sense that there's some kind of a of a system
Journey.
that people use. A journey. Okay, good.
Yeah. So it helped people when they come. When we come to a place like this, we really need a container for doing something.
Yeah.
If there is no container and agreement, there is no sense of safety, and there is no focus, and there's not ability to actually stay with the discomfort and go through the process.
Yeah.
Right. So first day when you come from these sort of outer world. and in lived known space to you.
Yeah.
You have your explanations and you arrive explaining, all of us can explain 100 times how we are screwed, right? But explanations just go, so far. So you
Mm-hmm.
come there and you recognize what is, you appreciate what is, you have gratitude for that, and you find a safe place in the group where you can open up and where you can actually get over your lips things that you need to say, things you need to acknowledge, or in writing, or you feel it intuitively, right? And so you are there. So the what is. Then you cross this first threshold, which is the first line, and you start asking, like, what if, you know? So you kind of leave explanations aside a little bit,
Mm.
and have your soul have some new experiences, because without new experiences, there's no new explanations. Without new experience,
That's a
all
great line.
explanations are actually just confirming your old story where
Mm.
you are, and you are just deepening and deepening and deepening. Explanation is a sure way not to change. Just keep explaining things, right? So that's why, when you talk with people, that's why we are so polarized, because we do not have experiences together. We have explanations, and the more you are telling people in the other camp about your arguments, the more they are kind of, doubling down, sort of thing. So you go to this what if, and it's a sort of an element there is fire. It's pretty, that is a dissonance time where you are seeing things differently and experience them differently and exploring. But then you shift to what matters.
Yeah, let me ask you about this.
Yeah. Anyway,
Let me clarify something on this. So you've moved this way on this threshold, right? From day one, the question of I am. Over on this side might be hard for people to see, but that says outer world, and then the column below says inner world. Can you say something about that? This idea of there being an outer world and an inner world?
yes. Outer world is the world of our daily life, where we are very comfortable and familiar.
Hmm.
We are even comfortable with our pain. This is where our ego sort of is at peace and things are predictable.
Yeah.
And things are changing continually, but they're not actually changing. Things are just kind of rolling. Time is rolling and life is rolling, right?
Uh-huh.
And you can live in this upper outer world for the most of your life and never go below this surface, into your
Mm-hmm.
inner world. And this inner world is world where you really attune to your heart, you observe your own thinking, you attune to your body, and you sink below the surface where explanations will not do anymore. And there's a lot of unknown that opens up. So this inner world is a world where Israelites were for a number of years in the desert, where, when Jesus was in the tomb, disciples were like thrown into this inner world, like,
I
what
see.
now?
I see.
Right?
Uh-huh.
So it's this liminal space in which we really grow and we become creative and we really expand the boundaries of who we are, and we harvest stuff that we have experienced in a previous chapter of our
I
lives,
see.
sort of thing. So that's inner world. And then and the retreat is this inner world, right? So
Mm.
when you come back into your environment, back into the outer world, you have gone through a process in which you are now asking the question, what works? So Martin Luther King had this kind of he would say, you can never go from the first thing, from knowing what's wrong, to solutions, because it's never going to work. You have to go through negotiation and self-understanding, and then emerge into what you're going to do. That's
I
the
see.
only way to transform.
So you can't go just across, you can't go horizontally here from what is just
Yes,
straight
to what
into
works.
what works. You're saying there's this other journey you have to take into this inner world.
Yes. And
Oh,
that journey is called transition, and upper journey is called change. So you can change all the time with actually
huh.
transitioning anything.
That's nice.
It's an illusion of transformation
Nice.
up there. You are basically going through a lot of things, and you look back, and 5 years passed, and you are still on the square. You are still on the square one about things that really matter to you.
Huh.
So
I got it.
so
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So descending down there is really a place where work happens.
Mm.
Um,
That's great. That's
and you're
great.
very alive there.
And
It's
and is
yeah.
this something that you tell people? is this something someone experiences and is sort of this is a reflection of what happens, or is this a plan that you talk to that you talk with people about as they're going through it? Like, do you say, we want you to be in this space in day one, we want you to be in this space in day two, we want you to be in this space in day three, or is this more your sense somewhere in day one, day two, day three, you're going to experience this kind of flow?
Yeah, it is very important that people need maps in order to feel safe.
Ah,
Uh, but they don't need talking and proving and logic
I
and
see.
kind of thing, because that that goes ahead. Brings them back into their head,
Hmm.
right? But you always, there's transparency about everything. There is no like any kind of a hidden process or hidden agenda. But
I see.
experiences are always, you give the people intention, and sometimes often you need first people experience it, then you debrief, then they see it on their own. You don't
Uh-huh.
have to say anything.
Hmm.
Most of the time things are just like, oh, I never thought I was gonna go into this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, so it's very hard. It's for facilitators who do this really well, are sort of personalities who are very good in being present in the space, but not talk too much.
Are
So
you good at this? Are you a good facilitator? Do
it's a,
you feel
it's a
like?
it's a growing experience. I have completely, at one point I was depressed about this because I lost trust in my mind, in
Mm,
the words, in insights, because I have seen people change. The less words, the more powerful,
mm-hmm.
right? And I have, we are preachers. I mean, a lot of us
Yeah.
who have come from this tradition, we're in tradition of words,
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I like
and we are
words.
sort of lopsided
Yeah.
big time.
Mhm. All right. So give us
So,
the details on this. In New York and in California are two
well,
offerings
so
that are
one is
available right now.
in California, in Santa Monica. Sounds kind of fancy, but it's
Sure
not.
does.
It's just a great
Okay.
space that we got for a good price,
Uh-huh.
and then you can go out. I'm doing Airbnb, in the
Yep.
neighborhood. Uh, so it's March 23rd, 3 to 25,
Hmm.
and the one in New York City is in the Columbia University area, which is April 6 to 8. Also,
Now,
we have
Columbia University area of New York is another way of saying Harlem, right?
no, actually, Columbia University is up on the hill where kind of well-to-do
Oh,
people
it's just
are.
above Harlem.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, but I live in Harlem. I would I couldn't find a space here, but there's one seminary there that was so
Great.
helpful in
Great.
providing space. But yeah, the spaces are filling up, and I have been very nervous about this.
Hmm.
I didn't know whether things will happen, but they're happening, and suddenly people are signing up. Some
Well,
have.
I'll say my guess is anyone who would be interested enough of having listened to any of this, if you're interested enough to listen to this, you'd appreciate this retreat. Uh, don't you think, Samir? Anyone who's going to pay attention to either of us talking about something on Facebook, that they would find real value in
Yeah.
the lived experience
I
of
am
this.
I'm sure, particularly people who believe in this journey of human
Hmm.
transformation.
Mm.
And with my background as a pastor, I gave my life to that, and then I sort of my faith changed in many many ways. My theology,
Hmm.
my faith that we actually uh, have that we actually responsible for our journey and for our path, and that we can focus and we can give it attention and actually grow like we grow other parts of our
Yeah.
lives, that we can grow this ground of our lives. I think I've seen that so many times with such wonderful people that I have learned from, and I don't think there's anything more exciting than that.
Mm. And the website where people can find all the information they need about this. What's that?
It's wisdomworkroom.com/turning point retreat. So why don't we type that
Yeah,
under
we'll put
the,
we'll put that in the comments. And so you can
yes,
click on that there. Wisdomworkroom.com. Turning point retreats.
yes, retreat. And then our early bird is closing on Saturday.
Hmm. So if they
So
want a little cheaper for getting in early.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's quite cheaper. It's designed to motivate.
So this weekend would be the time to do it.
Yeah.
Spring is in the air, at least in some parts of the country. It feels that way, in the United
Yeah.
States at least. Maybe the end of summer for people in Australia if they want to
Yeah.
fly over for this. But for the rest of it, it feels like there's sort of this new birthing that feels like it's happening here in North America.
Yeah.
And so this would be a good time for just such a thing.
Well, thank you, Doug, for having me be part of the
Thank
program
you,
and
Samir.
speaking to people who are in touch with you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, fantastic. So I think people should sign up for that and go. So that's my endorsement. If I could, I would.
I know you
I'm
were in New York at
just
that time, but
doing
there's,
other
as you
things.
say, 100 things happening. Not 100, but 5.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's a
things
lot.
happening simultaneously here.
It's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, you know, New York is a busy place, as it turns out. There's a lot of things going on at one time in New York City
Oh, yeah.
and in LA.
It's
So,
like a country.
yeah, fantastic. All right, buddy. Hey, I look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Bye.